what can we do to have these conversations with our children as well, to educate them as well, so that they're not like, oh, well, or they think about it like, oh, okay, I see where you're coming from, mom or dad. Yeah, I'm sorry. And not even apologizing, but I see where you're coming from. I know you want me to be safe, rather than like you're punished for something you did. Right?
Yeah. The other thing that we always talk about with parents is we say, adolescence is a normal time to push the limits, to break the rules, right? Like most of us did it when we were adolescents, and we have to know our kids are going to do it. And so, yes, set your rules, be very clear with what your expectations are, and then tell your kids, look, I know that there are probably going to be times where you try to bend these rules. I know that there might even be times when you break these rules. And what I want you to know is that in those moments, the most important thing is your safety. And so if you have broken a rule and you have ended up somewhere where you need help, right? Be it that you're, out at a party and you need me to pick you up, or you're talking with someone online that seems uncomfortable. The most important thing in that moment is for you to come and talk with me. We will figure it out together. So you have to kind of permission them to, not permission them to break the rules, but acknowledge that they're likely going to break the rules, and permission them that if and when that happens and they need your help, you set the expectation that you will be there. Because so many of our kids say, I didn't tell anyone because I knew they'd be mad at me because I wasn't supposed to X, Y, and Z, right? That's not what we want in those moments. We're not worried about the X, Y, and Z and the rules they broke. We're worried that they might now be in a dangerous situation. So we have to preemptively prepare them for that.
I think that goes back to what you were saying about creating a safe space. We want people to know that the space that is at home is the respite and the safest space it could possibly be. And that includes the conversations we have. Safe space could be out in your neighborhood, out in the world. You can create that. The car that you drive. We're always creating safe spaces. But if the one place where you lay your head at night is not the safe space, we got a problem, right? The conversations, if they don't feel safe, we've got a problem. So that is such important information, to have different kinds of conversations with our children. Or even if it's not our own children. I have children that either I work with or might be like a godchild or somebody else's child, because that's another thing to think about, that it might not be your own child. It could be your friend's child, or maybe your niece or your nephew, and they're telling you something that doesn't feel right. Like, it's really having your antenna up to listen to what's being said and shared, and the body language and everything that's being put out there. So these are such good tips. I do want to remind folks that Love 146 is a nonprofit organization. This is an organization that Erin Williamson, she's the Chief Program and Strategy Officer. And this is an organization dedicated to combating child trafficking and exploitation, including labor trafficking, which is a topic I definitely want us to chat about. What's considered labor trafficking? I mean, is it just sex trafficking?
No. So human trafficking does also include labor trafficking. And when there's labor trafficking, you need to be able to prove force, fraud, or coercion. And so, that's really important. With sex trafficking, especially of children, it's just any kind of commercial sexual act. So any kind of time there's a sexual act for an exchange of anything of value. But with labor trafficking, because kids can legally work, you really do have to prove that force, fraud, or coercion. And so, I'll give you an example of sometimes what we've seen. We've seen magazine crews, right, where kids are brought together and they're brought to a community, and they, get out of the car and they're told to go around to the houses and sell magazines. And they're given quotas, right, that they need to sell a certain amount of magazines in order to kind of meet that quota. And if they don't meet that quota, then there can be consequences. There can be beatings, there can be physical injury. And that's what we call kind of that force, right? Sometimes when we're talking about foreign nationals, right, people coming into the country, they'll say, look, we'll help you get you into the country, smugglers sometimes, and then they'll flip the script and they'll say, actually, now what you need to do is pay us back even more than we told you. And so we're going to have you work in, these shops. And usually it's long hours, it's minimal pay. Most of that pay goes back to paying whatever you needed to cross the border. And then, of course, there's all sorts of fines. Oh, you needed to use the bathroom. Well, now we're going to deduct that from your pay. Oh, you need it. And so they kind of can never get ahead in terms of paying down their debt, which really is not what they agreed to when they agreed to come into this country. And so, we see it happening in different ways. Sometimes it's U.S. citizens, sometimes it's foreign nationals. It really can be both, but you need to have that force, fraud, or coercion. It's really important as we raise our kids to teach them what their legal rights are as they enter the workforce, because so many people just don't understand what their legal rights are. And so you even times see kids working in restaurants where, hey, if you're carrying a plate of food and that food falls, what right does that restaurant have to take any kind of cost out of your paycheck, right? You should know what your legal rights are in your workplace so that you're able to protect yourself, because sometimes employers, even if it's not full-blown trafficking, do exploit children and their lack of knowledge regarding their rights.
This is fascinating. I never even thought about that. That what you're sharing about the labor exploitation are things that never crossed my mind. And now my thought is going, every time I see somebody outside that's doing the magazine thing, do you approach them and go, are you safe? What do you do in that situation? How do you know? Are there signs of a neighbor answering a door when somebody's walking by doing that? Are we going to constantly be on alert thinking every kid that's coming to the door with a pad and pencil or with a clipboard could be subjected to that? Or at a restaurant,